Universities are on the verge of extinction, and AI is the reason. But before we celebrate the end of lectures and tuition fees, let's stop and ask ourselves, what do we lose if we throw it all away? In this video, I will reveal why higher education needs to be restructured and the surprising ways that it still matters. Hi there, I'm Yvette, a neuroscientist and an author of several neuroscience studies. On this channel, I like to break down how the brain works, decode its mysteries, and explore the deeper questions that they raise about who we are and how science will shape our future. Today I decided to take a step back from neuroscience topics and discuss the future of institutions that have shaped the minds of generations. Let's be honest, something about the university model is off. We spent 3, 4, and sometimes even 7 years chasing a degree, only to graduate into a world where AI can do half our job better and faster. And to top it all off, our diplomas barely guarantee employment anymore. So what's really going on? And is the collapse of traditional universities already underway? Universities were built for a world that moves slowly. AI wasn't even part of the conversation. But today, well, the rules have changed. Information is everywhere and doesn't need to be memorized. AI evolves in weeks, and university curricula take decades to update. And even if the curricula were up to date, by the time that you would have finished your 4-year degree, the information that you would have learned would be already outdated by a couple of years. In fact, Gen Z is feeling the sting of this. Recent surveys have shown that even the top graduates are struggling to find a job. And this is not because they are unqualified, but because the job market has moved on. Entry-level roles are being consumed by automation. Tasks like customer support, virtual assistants, and also data analysis are increasingly done by AI. So what has replaced the degree? More and more companies are hiring based on real-world experience, online certification, and skills portfolios. And internships? Well, they're not something that you just do for a summer. They are now the main event. Learning on the job is becoming the new gold standard. And as the value of the traditional degree is shrinking, we're left with one difficult question. And that is, what does it even mean anymore? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. AI is doing your homework. I know it, you know it, everyone knows it. Need a summary of a paper? Well, AI can do it in seconds. Need help writing your dissertation? Well, yep, that too. Well, and if you don't believe me, well, just Google vegetative electron microscopy. Go on, I dare you. Since the commercialization of generative AI, some published papers have been popping up here and there with a new term called vegetative electron microscopy. After investigation, what was found was that this term was coined by an LLM because of how words were structured in a PDF. So, if anything, this event tells heaps about who's doing the homework, because apparently not even professional scientists and professors. And let's be real, universities cannot stop it. AI is getting smarter, stealthier, and harder to detect. So what does a degree actually prove anymore? Because before it used to signal hard work, perseverance, and critical thinking. But now? Well, in some fields, it just shows that you had access to a system that is struggling to stay relevant. And unfortunately, employers know it too. And now they're asking, what can you do? And when did you apply this? And if AI can do the work and degrees do not reflect the skills learned, well, then what's left for universities to offer? Universities were once the gatekeepers of knowledge. If you wanted to access world-class education, you had to pay tuition fees and attend lectures. And now, well, anyone with a laptop and Wi-Fi access can learn from MIT, Stanford, and an AI tutor which has been trained on all course material, and all for free. And AI doesn't just teach, it tailors the experience to you. It adapts to your learning pace, gives instant feedback, and never gets tired. It is the kind of personalized education at scale which was once unimaginable. And it is especially revolutionary for people who couldn't afford or access traditional universities. And AI is democratizing learning globally. You don't need a student loan to access elite education. You just need curiosity and an internet connection. So, if universities no longer have exclusive knowledge, if their degrees are losing credibility, and if AI is training the next generation faster and cheaper, then yes, the university model as we know it is collapsing. But wait a sec. Does this mean that we should trash universities altogether? Have they really run their course? Or is there something deeper that we're risking of losing? Well, let's get into that now. Let me start with this. AI in education can be brilliant. In fact, reports indicate that learners who train with AI agents tend to learn faster than those who don't. But here's the problem. We're not just using AI to enhance our skills. We're increasingly using them to replace them. Writing, outsourced. Thinking through complex problems, outsourced as well. Articulating ideas clearly, well, you guessed it, outsourced. But learning is meant to be difficult. That struggle is the point. It builds the muscle for clarity, logic, and independence. And when we lose the ability to express what's on our minds, well, we don't just become lazy, we become dependent. There's this film from 2006 called Idiocracy. At the time, it was meant to be a satire, a joke about how we are dumbing ourselves down in favor of consumerism, among other things. But watching it now feels less like a comedy and more like a documentary in slow motion. Because if we hand over critical thinking to AI, what happens to the next generation? What happens when our kids can't think for themselves? There's already so much noise and so much data. And the speed of information does not allow us to go deep. Instead of developing insight, we skim through. And slowly, we stop knowing how to think at all. And when thinking erodes, it's not just education that suffers, but truth itself. We now live in a paradox. We have access to all the knowledge in the world, yet we are drowning in misinformation. And AI is only amplifying this. Deepfakes, hallucinated answers, and confident lies. And this is just the beginning. So when your AI tutor hallucinates facts, who do you trust? We still turn to institutions like universities, as they have earned their trust over time. Peer review, expertise, and academic integrity might not be perfect, but they are a firewall against chaos. Because if universities disappear, who will fact-check the AI? Corporations, influencers, governments, Reddit threads? Let's be honest. Misinformation thrives in the absence of shared standards. And if someone wanted to break the backbone of truth in society, the first thing that they'd attack would be universities. Look around you, that's exactly what's happening. And when trust in knowledge collapses, something much bigger is at stake. And that is the foundation of our democracy. I was watching a YouTube interview lately with Yuval Noah Harari. I know, I'm a fangirl. And one of the lines that stuck with me is the following. And I'm sorry, I'm really not quoting here, I forgot the exact words. But it went along something on these lines. And that is that revolutions often focus on taking down institutions. But it is the institutions that hold democracy together. And actually, that hit hard. Because I always thought as well that, institutions are the root of all problems. They are slow, bureaucratic, and I don't know, just corrupt or whatever. But yes, institutions can be flawed, but it is also where many become one voice. Universities are the institutions where truth has infrastructure. It has strength. Without universities, what happens to the creation of new knowledge? Do we leave that to corporations? Think about the last time that you've read a scientific study funded by a corporation. Would you trust it? Or would you be instantly skeptical that the results are designed to sell a product? Universities are one of the few places left where knowledge can be pursued for its own sake. They are often bound to no government and are free thinking zones. Yes, they really need to adapt. And yes, they are quite slow in that. But if we give up on them completely, we're not just losing a school system, we're losing a pillar of truth and a place where humans learn how to think. So before we rush to replace universities with code, we should ask ourselves really, what kind of society do we want to build? In 1984, the book Not the Air, the regime kept its citizens under constant surveillance. But despite all the cameras and control, there was still one place that they couldn't reach. And that is the human mind. Thoughts were private, unspoken, untouchable. So what did they do? They went after language. Because if you shrink someone's vocabulary, you can shrink their thoughts. If people can't name what they feel, they cannot understand it. And if we can't express what we think, then slowly we'll stop thinking altogether. Now fast forward to today. Language hasn't been outlawed. However, the tools to harness it, well, We are being told to outsource those. Universities are old-fashioned, education is a waste of time, and writing is a nuisance. So, of course, let AI do it for you. And to be honest, because of all of this, I am afraid that once we truly start to believe this, we truly become hamsters on a wheel with no way out. And don't get me wrong here, AI is a brilliant tool, and if you're not using it, you're missing an opportunity. But still, something doesn't sit right with me. When I hear people writing books, outsourcing creating art, and handing over thinking like it's a chore, well, my alarm bell starts to ring. Let me ask you this, honestly, really. Is this just me? Or do you feel it too?